What's up, Couch fam? My 2023 redraft rankings are now available on the website fantasycouch.com. Also, my top 300 cheat sheet printable list is available as well on fantasycouch.com. I wanted to make a quick video on how to use rankings. What are they? There's no easy shortcut way to win your league. Winning your league is a formula. A large percentage of winning your league is going to be luck. Another percentage is going to be trades. Another percentage is going to be waivers or adds and drops. But the biggest percentage, the one that's going to help you win your league the most important aspect of fantasy football is the draft. And rankings are the most vital tool, the most necessary tool, the most simple tool, or you can call it a guide to help you with your draft. It's not the end all be all, and this is how you're going to use rankings, hopefully my rankings, to help you dominate your draft. You're gonna have to use some common sense, you're gonna have to use your brain, and you're gonna have to read the draft. Just look at my rankings as a second opinion, like I'm right next to you in your corner, helping you, like you're in a boxing match, I'm your corner, I'm giving you pointers. You're still the one that's going to have to go there and dodge the punches and throw punches and win the rounds and get the KOs. I'm just here to help. When drafting a player, you got to know these two categories and ask yourself that for every single player. The first one is players that are easy to predict or hard to predict. Maybe they're in a high passing offense, so they're going to throw the ball a lot more. Or they're just absolute studs, and it's just a very low chance that they're going to be a bust. So some things are easy to predict. Some things are harder to predict, especially like, let's say, a rookie wide receiver. It's a little bit harder to predict than a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who we kind of know is going to be a super elite quarterback. The next thing is floor versus ceiling. Some guys are super safe, super reliable, and usually consistent. That all goes together. While some guys are super risky, they can have a lot of boom weeks, and they may not be that good. Like, they could be boom or bust, or maybe they could fall off. Like, maybe Mike Evans could be considered that. Or again, like a wide receiver rookie, it's like, oh, this guy's got a big ceiling, but he's kind of unproven. Therefore, high ceiling, low floor, risky. So you want to look at that. Injury risk is also within that category. It's like a subcategory. Is this guy super injury prone? For instance, Mike Thomas, right? That's high ceiling for sure, very low floor, kind of going to be a boom or bust guy. You're kind of already thinking he's going to be injured or he might kind of fall off. Like, you already know that. You're just going off the off chance he stays healthy for 7-10 games and actually plays like 70% of the old Mike Thomas. That would be great for where he's going. So Mike Thomas would be in that category of risky, high ceiling, low floor, and big injury risk. So let's start attacking 2023 and these positions. Let's actually start talking about more players. Starting off with the quarterback rankings. The first one that really stands out to me, and I'm not going to be like Patrick Mahomes is good in this video. I'm not going to do that. Don't worry, I won't bore you guys too much. So the first guy that's the biggest dilemma is Justin Fields. And every analyst, every video you see, every hot take, they're going to tell you what Justin Fields is going to do. And most people think he's going to do great, and they're really on that hype train. And then I think there's a minority of people that are telling you that Justin Fields is going to suck. And they point to certain things like his throwing metrics were like bottom 4, bottom 3. They were terrible, and he didn't make a big jump in year 2 in terms of passing. We saw him great runner, obviously super talented runner. The truth is, nobody knows. Now, I do have an opinion, though. I can have an opinion. See, Justin Fields goes in the category of difficult to predict. A lot of these other guys, I think Herbert, Burrow, Hurts, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, are easy to predict. That's why I'm ranking them so high. They're very easy to predict. I think they're going to be absolute studs. Justin Herbert is probably going to be on the team that passes the most, could lead the league in passing yards, could lead the league in passing attempts. We know Jalen Hurts, amazing runner, so on, so on. So you guys know these guys are studs. The chance that they bust is pretty low. Lamar Jackson, again, he could be ranked super high. It's just we had a new OC. We got to see a little bit more. So there's a little bit more risk with Lamar Jackson. I can easily put him up here at number 4. Same thing with Justin Fields. I can easily put him around number 6 or 5. I think Justin Fields is going to be good. I do think he's going to take a huge leap. I'm not super confident in that, unfortunately. I know that's not the norm in society to tell you, look, I don't know. I'm not that confident. I truly believe that's what fantasy football is about, though. Being confident, being able to confidently predict things. And if you can't, well, at least acknowledge that you're taking a risk or lower them in your rankings. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm lowering him on my rankings. Another concern with Justin Fields, though, is him getting hit. Him getting tossed around like a rag doll, him getting his skull cracked behind that O-line. He's a very tough quarterback, and he has taken a couple hits already just last year that looked pretty devastating. So I'm extra worried about that. So there's that added risk. Can he take that leap year 3? Can he actually throw the football? I think so. I think probably he will. Not too confident in that. Is he going to get cracked? Is he going to get hit constantly? I'm more confident in that, actually. I really think he is. Is he going to be able to run like he did last year? Probably, yeah. But I have a lot of worries. So, take that as you will. You don't have to go exactly off my rankings. I'm totally fine if you want to go a little bit early QB and you take Justin Fields as the 6th QB off the board. I think that's fine. I think that's okay. I would prefer Lamar Jackson, and I would prefer Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert is at a discount this year just because all his receivers got hurt last year, and he got hurt with a big rib injury that affected him. So if I see a player that I like and the price is less, right? He's on sale, right? He's Justin Herbert's like 15% off this year, right around there, 50, maybe 20, yeah. Right around 15% off this year. I love it. I'm taking that all day. I love Justin Herbert. Trevor Lawrence, a little bit risky, but I'm more confident in him taking a huge leap than I am Justin Fields. Pretty simple. He's got the coach. He's got Calvin Ridley, who I think is a true number 1 wide receiver this year. And I don't think he did have a true wide receiver one last year. He had a good one in Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram was good. Now I think he has a true wide receiver 1. I think he will take a huge leap, and he's still young, and we can throw out that rookie year he had. What a disaster. It wasn't quite his fault. I blame that on the coach. And that's the tier 1 QBs. So these top 8 right here. Then the next guy I got is Deshaun Watson. Now, this is a great comparison here. Watson versus Kirk Cousins. I'm super confident in Kirk Cousins. I feel like he's just going to finish like QB 8 somehow. Maybe better, right around there, right? QB 9, QB 6. He's going to be great. He doesn't offer that super upside, though, because no rushing ability, unfortunately, there. Rushing stats are the ultimate cheat code. And that's where Deshaun Watson comes in. Now, Deshaun Watson is extremely risky. I do think he will bounce back and we'll see a resemblance of the old Deshaun Watson, but I'm not super confident in that. This team is going to run through Chubb quite a bit. It's Kevin Stefanski at the helm there. And maybe Deshaun Watson just sucks. Maybe he will suck the rest of his career. There is that risk. Maybe he ends up looking like Tiger Woods post-divorce or Tom Brady post-divorce. We'll be tuned in and find out. But there is a risk there. I'm still ranking him high. Basically what I'm communicating to you here, guys, is once these top 8 guys are gone, I'm probably not rushing to draft a QB. That's all. I'm not desperate. I'm not running to be like, oh crap, I need a quarterback. And that's in a 1 QB league. That's why Superflex is so popular. There's so many ways to attack it. when these guys are actually super valuable. Tua, what are the concerns there? One more concussion and he might retire. I'd bet on that. I really do believe Tua will retire if he has one more concussion. Also, Miami, they might be getting the ball out of his hands quicker, just a little bit, just to help him out. They'll be running the ball more or using the running back position a lot more. That's why they drafted De'Von Achane. That's why they gave Dalvin Cook an offer. We'll see if he accepts it or not. Probably a low ball offer. They've been trying to get running backs constantly, and they got a pretty good one in De'Von Achane, who's not a workhorse, but still. He'll get like 10 carries and 5+ targets a game. De'Von Achane will. And then we have like a kind of a tier here with Daniel Jones, who's not really a great quarterback. He gets the job done, and he gets rushing stats, which count a lot in fantasy football. So he's a decent QB. He's kind of meh, though. He's not like elite. Geno Smith, is he a one-year wonder? I don't think so. And now he has JSN, who is very underrated, to go on top of that. JSN is a great slot wide receiver. And he also has Zach Charbonnet. And Charbonnet is a pretty good pass-catching running back, better than Ken Walker. So he's got these two weapons in addition to what he did last year, which was incredible. Russell Wilson, I see a huge bounce back year now that he does have a coach. Still a question mark. Aaron Rodgers, I see him bouncing back in a big way. Limited upside though, because one, I think the Jets will run the ball a lot. I don't think they'll take a ton of risks. I think the defense will play amazing. And also another thing that will affect his upside is no more rushing stats really for Rodgers. He's much older now. He'd get you a few rushing yards back in his younger days. Now he's not going to get you too many rushing yards. So limited upside there. Jordan Love, huge unknown. I am very intrigued with him. And I find myself, I think his ADP is super low. And I find myself drafting him quite a bit in super flex leagues or these deep leagues where I need a QB2 or QB3, like a best ball draft. I find myself taking him a lot. Matthew Stafford, he should be healthy this year. I still think he's got it, but I feel like if I fart the wrong direction or I blow wind the wrong direction, this whole Rams team could somehow fall apart all the way in Los Angeles. They'll feel that through the butterfly effect, and the whole team will fold. And I think we're all scared of that. We just seen a somewhat significant injury by Cooper Kupp. Will probably be ready week 1. That's already scary enough. We've seen this team crumble after they won the Super Bowl. It was pretty scary. It was quite the catastrophe, quite the collapse, and I think we're all very scared of that. On top of that, Stafford sucked last year. We're blaming the elbow, sure, but we'll see. Just a little bit of a worry here. Then we have this next tier of QBs. Brock Purdy, I think he'll be excellent. I think he is locked in as the Niners starter. He does a little bit capped upside, though. Unfortunately, similar scenarios as what I mentioned before. Not a lot of rushing ability. Niners, great defense. They'll be running the ball a lot of ball control. So I think he'll do good. The pass offense will be there. It just won't be like a top 5 passing team or anything like that. Bryce Young, out of all the rookie quarterbacks this year, I do think he has the best chance to succeed because he's an amazing passer. He's just great, man. He's like AI out there, Allen Iverson or something, whatever. I don't know the comparison. He is awesome. Little undersized, and he's a rookie. We don't see a lot of rookie quarterbacks do much. Sam Howell could be excellent this year. Anthony Richardson, I do think he's going to suck at passing this year. I am not an AR hater. I'm not a certified AR hater, but I think he's a much better dynasty pick. The rushing ability is amazing. They will have to throw the ball, the Colts, because they're not a great team. But I just don't think he's going to have it his first year. He wasn't a good passer, not at all in college, and he has very little experience starting. And the Colts are just not a great team. Now, I have seen him make good throws. So we've seen that. He has that ability. I just think that's going to come more in year 2 or towards the end of the season. I really wouldn't draft him. But that's how come I have him ranked against ahead of guys like Kenny Pickett. Now, Kenny Pickett, he sucked last year. I hated watching him. He threw no touchdowns. The Steelers' offense just looked stale. It just wasn't good. And a lot of people hated on Big Ben. And then we see older Big Ben especially. And then we saw when Big Ben retired, this offense got that much worse. Steelers fans were like, bring Big Ben back. But I got two good things to say about Kenny Pickett, actually. Number one, he played well when it counted. I looked into this a little deeper when it came to the fourth quarter, when it came to comebacks, when it came to playing better towards the end of the season versus towards the beginning. He checked the box out of all those, and that's kind of what you like to see out of a quarterback. It's important. It matters more, and it helps us predict how he's going to do better. On top of that, another sneaky thing, he does get a little bit of rush yards, so he does have that. Ryan Tannehill, I'm starting to like him more and more now that he has Hopkins. The Titans are trying to win a Super Bowl one more year till the wheels fall off there. And some wheels might be falling off with guys like Derrick Henry, Tannehill, and Hopkins, who might be getting closer to that retiring age, or, you know, Tannehill being like a bridge QB type of guy, like an Andy Dalton or Jimmy G type of quarterback sooner than later. Desmond Ritter's a guy I'm liking more and more as well. Now, we're definitely into like super deep league or super flex league territory here. Desmond Ridder, look, he's on a team that's going to run the ball the most. I get that. He's got Algier, he's got Patterson, he's got Bijan. But one thing that I like about Ridder is two things, actually. I don't think that the Falcons could possibly throw the ball less than they did last year. They ran the ball so much and kept the training wheels on. I think they're going to take the training wheels off at least a little bit for Desmond Ridder, let him throw to Drake London a little bit more, and Kyle Pitts a little bit more. And on top of that, he's improving. He barely played last year, and there's no pressure here. Also, the second reason is that he was pretty fast as a runner in college, didn't really run in the NFL. I noticed this trend with Kyler Murray. He didn't really run his first year. Then the second year, he ran a lot. And so we can see an uptick in rushing stats as well for Desmond Ridder. And right now, we're talking QB3 territory. I just want to make that clear. I'm not telling you guys to draft Desmond Ridder at all in a 1 QB league. That's kind of silly. Might have to raise Mac Jones up one pick here. I think I said this was going to be a short video. It is not. This happens I swear, I think I'm going to make a 4-minute video, end up making like a 40-minute video. It happens every time. For running backs, let's see what we can predict, what we can't. Nick Chubb should be your number 1 overall pick if you're in a standard league or non-PPR league. I think number 1 overall. I don't really do non-PPR rankings, by the way, but I'm thinking that's the best route to go if you're in a non-PPR league. In a PPR league, I'm taking Justin Jefferson first overall, probably Bijan second overall. Now, why am I doing this? I'm not necessarily telling you that Bijan Robinson is the best running back in redraft this year, but what I'm saying is that it's very close between a lot of these guys here, like the top 4, 5, 8 guys. It's pretty close. With Bijan Robinson, he has catch passing ability, he has the draft capital. Scouting him as a prospect, the best prospect since Saquon Barkley for running backs, best wide receiver on the team in college. He's younger, has 0 tread on the tires in terms of NFL, therefore automatically just less of an injury risk than a guy like Christian McCaffrey. I'm totally fine with you taking CMC over him. Even if you take Eckler over him, that's fine. Chubb should be within that conversation, sure. But these are my rankings, and this is just what I'm trying to communicate to you. I'm not necessarily saying that Bijan Robinson for sure is going to finish ahead of these guys, Eckler and CMC, in fantasy football. Nobody knows that, but I do think he's less injury prone, just based off that he has 0 touches in the NFL. And running back's a brutal position. Slight tier gap between Chubb and Saquon Barkley. I love Saquon this year, but I got to go Chubb. No Kareem Hunt. He's going to get a lot more targets. He's going to be the man every week, no matter what. Kevin Stefanski is going to run it with Chubb. He's going to be the guy. They're way better at running the ball. Saquon Barkley's behind a much worse O-line. Just more question marks there. So I love Nick Chubb this year. I seriously think you need to consider taking him in round 1 unless there's a wide receiver you love or something like that. I think towards the end of round 1, he's always available, and I'm pretty much always going to be taking him there. Derrick Henry versus Pollard. One's much older. One has much more tread on the tire, but that's Derrick Henry, but he's also much more proven, less risky in terms of you know what you get. With Tony Pollard, a little bit more risk, but he's so much younger, much less injury risk, much less tread on the tires, probably getting a lot more passes as well. No Ezekiel Elliott there. Cowboys could sign Zeke. That would be crazy, huh? Then we definitely have to lower Tony Pollard. Ramondre Stevenson, to me, he could be one of the best running backs in fantasy. We just got to wait and see if the Patriots sign a running back, and they seem like they're looking to sign one. That would hurt Ramondre's value. 88 targets last year, though. So I'll talk about a couple other things. I don't want to go over every single player. Madison. Okay, so Alexander Madison, I do like him this year. I think he's a great pick. Just have him ranked maybe a couple spots lower than you might think because it's not just a super slam dunk. Got this light in my eyes. It's not a super slam dunk that he's going to be the number 1 workhorse for the Vikings. That's all. I think Javonte, much more risky, but has much more upside. If he were healthy, you know he would be the number 1 de facto workhorse for the Broncos. Cam Akers, he's the workhorse. He's the man for the Rams. Just could be a little bit weird situation with the Rams, or big question mark, but I'm just so sure that Cam Akers is going to be the workhorse, and that's why I like him so much more this year. Also, last year he ended on a very high note, was a elite top running back in fantasy last year. Amazing. ETN I'm probably avoiding this year. You notice guys that are in disputes or just not practicing, I have ranked much lower. I'd rather just not draft them at all. I'm not drafting Jonathan Taylor this year. Probably rank him even lower. Breece Hall's so low, mainly because I want to see where Dalvin Cook signs. He might sign with the Jets. I like Ken Walker more than Charbonnet, but after I saw their ADP, I hate Ken Walker and I love Charbonnet. Ken Walker's going in the 4th round. Zach Charbonnet is going in the 11th round. That's just wrong. So draft Charbonnet. Don't draft Ken Walker. That's stupid. I think Ken Walker's a dumb pick for that price. And right now, Sharp's getting healthy. He's healthy, and Ken Walker's still hurt. That's not good. Devon Achane, I talk about him a lot on this channel. I love him in best ball. Don't really like him in redraft. And if Dalvin Cook signs with the Dolphins, that's going to hurt his value even more. It's not going to absolutely crush his value, but it will hurt it significantly. You wouldn't like that if you have Achane on your team. And at the end of the draft, you want guys that are like super upside. None of these guys are starters. Guys that if the main ball carrier goes down, he can be an RB1. And so Chase Brown is my guy for that. Moving on to wide receivers. I'm actually not going to talk about this too much. There's a ton of them. It's a huge mess. I mean, I have my guys I like. I'm moving Pickens up a lot more. This is going to be my number 1 advice for you guys when it comes to wide receivers. I would try to leave with one of my top 10. Maybe you can put CeeDee Lamb in that category. Maybe even Keenan, but I don't think so. Chris Olave is kind of right up there too with Keenan Allen and CeeDee Lamb. He's really good. A lot of people will have Waddle higher. But for me, my opinion, me giving you recommendation, I'd like to see you leave your league with a top 10 wide receiver, if you can. I think it's very doable. Calvin Ridley's going in round 3. Devontae Adams is falling. Garrett Wilson had a very minor injury. He could be falling a little bit. Cooper Kupp is falling. So I think you can leave with the top 10 wide receiver. I think that's very doable. It's very easy no matter what strategy you're applying. I would not go super robust RB, as in RB the first 3 rounds. I would not recommend doing that. One more thing. My guys I'm always trying to draft, Calvin Ridley, Christian Watson and Elijah Moore. I absolutely love Elijah Moore. Absolutely love him. He's ranked so low on Sleeper. He's like going round 12 or so, 11. You probably have to take him like round 9 or 10 though if you really want him. Moving on to tight ends. I actually had Hockenson ranked one spot higher just to kind of prove a point and communicate something to you. But with the news of him not practicing much, probably due to a contract or it could be injury, we don't know quite yet, I moved him down. My point with this, and as it stands right now, this tier gap, is that I think Hockenson and Mark Andrews are pretty much tied. If I had to pick right now, I would still pick Mark Andrews, but it's so close. It's extremely close, basically tied. I think Hockenson going one full round after Mark Andrews is the value pick if you want to go early tight end and you don't get Kelce. I think Mark Andrews will be just fine. He'll be great. I do think he is going too early, though. Now, what's the difference between Hockenson and Kittle? I got a YouTube comment that actually was really interesting that said, like, look, they're in the same tier. And I'm putting a tier gap between them because of this. I think Kittle has a ton of upside. I think he can finish with the same fantasy points as Hockenson, but he's much more risky. He will be more inconsistent because he's an amazing blocker. Niners may not throw to him in certain games. Niners may not need to throw certain games when they're playing terrible teams. And on top of that, we have that injury risk, right? A little bit older. We've seen lots of injuries from Kittle. You can almost pencil in that he's going to miss some games. So it's pretty worrisome there because of that risk, because of that inconsistency. And the injuries, I'm ranking him lower. Another thing in fantasy that's very important in normal leagues, like head-to-head leagues, your normal regular leagues, is consistency. It is important, especially when you're talking about like wide receivers and tight ends in consistent positions. You guys know Mike Evans, right? The most inconsistent player in all of fantasy, basically. He lost a lot of people their leagues. And guys like Mike Evans actually are really good in tournaments and best ball. They're not good in head-to-head, where you would rather have a consistent guy. You'd rather have a guy get the same amount of stats in the season, 10 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, let's say, and have it spread out evenly, right? Every game giving you like 78 yards, right? Every other game giving you a touchdown. That's what you'd rather have. So consistency is important. Another reason I really like Hockenson. We know the Vikings are throwing the ball. We know that Justin Jefferson double covered, and we know that Hockenson is really good. It's one of the formulas to beat the Vikings is to cover Jefferson, a double cover Jefferson, not just like a double cover like a safety to look at, like let the Vikings offense, let Kirk Cousins know, hey, we're double covering this guy right away. We're not waiting for him to go in the route to, like, we're double covering him. Don't throw to him. That's actually been a strategy. It worked in the playoffs with the Giants. And yeah, tight ends is kind of a crapshoot, kind of similar to QBs, a little bit tougher to predict, but kind of similar to QBs. Like after my top 8 QBs and after my top 5 tight ends, you can kind of argue for any of these guys. There's a lot of guys here. Njoku, I have ranked 15 spots below the consensus. That's because I love Elijah Moore. So this offense is going to run through Chubb, okay? They got Amari Cooper. They got Elijah Moore, who I like. They have Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was okay last year, not great. He's still there. And they drafted a pretty good sleeper wide receiver in Cedric Tillman. So regardless if you like those guys and you agree with me, doesn't really matter. What matters is they brought in a lot more receivers, and it's just a fact that those guys are going to get targets, and that could take away targets from Njoku. So I see Njoku more like a fullback right now. As far as fantasy football, he's just going drafted way too early. It's not really to disrespect David Njoku. Like maybe he does finish tight end 13 or 11 or whatever. That still won't really help you win your league. And that's where he's going. He's going like the 10th, 11th tight end off the board. And I'm telling you, don't do that. Like, do not draft Njoku. No way. It just doesn't make logical sense. Draft Nick Chubb. That's fine. Don't draft Njoku. Defenses and kickers were very difficult to rank this year. And just like last year, I think that it's all over the place. I would not reach for a defense. I would try and wait. If you don't get a elite defense like the Niners or Cowboys, maybe wait and get a defense like the Jets or Steelers. I think they're a cool sleeper defense. Just do the best you can, I guess. It's just, yeah, it's kind of random. Streaming defenses is a pretty good idea. I think that's a great idea. Go look who they're playing the coming week and then stream defenses. Heck, you might want to start streaming defenses for week 1, like Ravens D, week 1 going against the Texans, Jags D. Maybe the Colts are missing some players like JT. That could be a cool one. Vikings D. That's terrible. But in a deep league, maybe. This one's a really good one. The Washington Commanders defense going against the Cardinals. That's a great streaming defense. I like that one a lot. Broncos D week 1 going against the Raiders. That's an amazing defense. So we got a lot of options here, man. Yeah, I think streaming is the way to go, especially this year, or just don't worry about a defense too much. Kickers, that was a humbling experience last year. There were some shockers. Now, I do have some advice for you, though, and this should help you. So my number one go-to, if you don't get an elite kicker, which I don't think you should be drafting one early, I say that every year. If you don't get an elite one, like one of these 3, my top 3 or 4, my target is going to be Greg Zuerlein. I try to convince people every year, and it's very difficult, that like teams that do well and have the lead have better kickers. And people just don't believe me. They still think that they're going to be able to predict a kicker because it's a team that moves the ball very well, and then they can't finish the job in the red zone or green zone, what we call it, within field goal range, and they settle for field goals, which does happen. Raiders, it's happened with the Falcons before when Yenweku first broke out a few years ago, like 3 years ago, was it? It's just nearly impossible to predict. You'll believe me now. Check this argument out so I can prove this to you. Think about all the teams that are drafting at the top, like the Bears, the Texans, whatever, Cardinals, right? Think about all those teams. How well has their kicker done? Towards the bottom, right? It's not a coincidence. Teams that are good, that don't have a crappy kicker as far as a talent, and teams that have the lead, their kickers perform better in fantasy. It's a strong correlation. You can settle for a field goal in the fourth quarter, and that's going to be bonus field goal attempts, okay? If you're always playing from behind, like the Cardinals, the Texans, the Bears, then you may not be able to kick a field goal in the fourth quarter when you're down 3 touchdowns. It just looks stupid. So you're going for it on 4th down, and you're going for it on 4th down. That's a big... It's not like the end all for picking kickers, but I'm telling you, that's the best one. And that's why I like Greg Zuerlein. The talent is solid. As far as talent, he's probably not super elite. His accuracy is about average. His leg power is pretty good. That's way above average. And now with Aaron Rodgers, everything changes. They have an elite defense. They have a pretty good coach as far as their mentality. And I think Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw a lot of picks. I think they're going to be leading a lot, or at least, moving the ball well. I think I'll be able to get Zuerlein with my very last pick in every single draft. Now, maybe you thought when I said sleeper, I was going to say Jake Moody. But people that know a thing or two about the NFL or the Niners already know Jake Moody, and he's already getting quite a bit of hype. So although I do love Jake Moody's upside, I'm ranking him high. He is risky, and in my home league where there's maybe like 7 Niner fans, might not be a good idea to target Jake Moody because he might go a round or 2 earlier. Now, why am I such a Daniel Carlson hater? I'm not. I just think that Daniel Carlson has been tied to one quarterback his entire career, Derek Carr, and he's gone. And the Raiders are kind of a mess right now. It's just a little bit tougher to predict. As far as a talent, he is great. He's like a poor man's Justin Tucker. He's got great leg power, extremely accurate kicker, so I do like him. I'm just a little bit worried about his situation, about this Raiders franchise, which is really going down the gutter and could fall apart. It's arguably already falling apart or has fallen apart. My rankings, my digital rankings, are available on fantasycouch.com, what you were just looking at. And this here is a printable top 300 list cheat sheet. This is also available on fantasycouch.com. If for some reason you can't find it, you don't know how to look around the website, just go to fantasycouch.com/rankings. It'll be easier to find there. This is awesome, especially if you have a home draft. People use this in online drafts as well. All you do is when a guy's drafted, you cross out the name of the player, and then after you cross it out, you just write it down right here. You write his position, QB, name Mahomes, and the bye week 10. Pretty awesome stuff right here. So check that out. It's all free. fantasycouch.com. Check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Best fantasy football community out there. Couch fam, thank you guys so much. And hey, if you want to drop a comment, as you know, I answer almost every single question, so don't hesitate to drop a comment. Like this video, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.